What about the people out there that are like, oh, I'm fine, or they think they're doing okay because they've just normalized the symptoms that they've been experiencing for years?
The 5 signs that your body is giving you that we need to be aware of. No caffeine during the day. How will your energy be without caffeine? You're like, oh, yeah, I guess I wake up, a little groggy with a little bit of brain fog. That's a sign that you're not balanced. There is something on right now.
Today on the Art of Living Well podcast, we're welcoming back Dr. Stephen Cabral for his 3rd time on our show. Dr. Cabral is a leader in functional and integrative medicine, and today we're diving into his newest book, Personomics, The End of All Disease, which explores personalized health and getting to the root cause instead of relying on one-size-fits-all advice. We also share, on air, the personal lab test Stephanie and I both took with Dr. Cabral and what we learned from our results. This is a practical, insightful conversation you won't want to miss.
Everything in your life that you want to achieve is a blueprint or system. It's never been guesswork. If you think about my health, why did I get so sick at 17 years old? From 14 years old to 17 years old, I had taken 3,000 capsules of amoxicillin in my lifetime. And then I got extremely sick because my immune system just could no longer handle it. Remember, the body can always heal itself. There is nothing that we can't heal from as long as we find out what are our deficiencies and what are our toxicities.
I'm curious what you think about the role of genetics when we're looking at these tests.
People are very quick to say, oh, it's just my genes, so I'm just going to have to go on high cholesterol medicine.
We don't have to be a victim of our genetics.
The number of people or clients that believe that your genetics is your destiny.
You really should be focusing on anti-aging and health by the time you get to your 40s. And the reason is that
Welcome to the Art of Living Well podcast, where we empower you to take charge of your health and happiness. We're Marnie
and Stephanie,
board-certified integrative health practitioners, holistic wellness coaches, and passionate explorers of all things mind, body, and soul.
Each week, we bring you expert insights, real-life stories, and practical tools to help you bridge the gap between where you are now and where you truly want to be. From longevity and nutrition to mindset, movement, and healing, we dive deep to uncover the root causes of wellness and vitality.
Join us and our growing community as we explore what it really means to create your art of living well in a way that's authentic, sustainable, and uniquely yours.
Hello, Dr. Cabral. Welcome back to the Art of Living Well podcast. Marnie and I are both thrilled to have you on for a part 3. So for anyone listening who hadn't tuned in earlier, Dr. Cabral was first on our show, episode 16. So that was really early on. And you talked about, a taste of how to get well from the inside out. And then you came back on episode 175, and we talked about what you need to know to add 10 years to your life. And now you're back today. You have a new book, Personomics, The End of All Disease. And we're even going to talk about some labs that Marnie and I ran that you're going to share with us on air, which will be really fun. And just all the work that you continue to do to help people heal and give them hope when sometimes they feel like they've lost hope with aging, or there are many symptoms that they have, and they've been told that they didn't have any other options. So thank you for all the work you do and for being here today.
I appreciate both of you, and congratulations too on the podcast and all the success. That's pretty amazing to watch.
Well, thank you.
So what's something that people may be surprised to learn about how you live your day-to-day life?
So I would say that it might seem like on social media that I have different things going on, but my life is actually very boring for a reason, very systematized. It honestly is. It's Groundhog Day, Monday through Friday. Honestly, I wake up, I have the same morning routine. I've got the same breakfast. I go for the same walk and talk. I do my meetings during the day. I do my 4 hours, I call it, my research, reading, writing, and recording. And then the day ends, and then I do my workout. I have dinner with my family. We try to play games or something like after dinner with my daughters. And then it's bedtime routine. And so that might seem really boring to people, but I love it. And that's because it keeps my stress really low. So I do a million things during the day for my work, but since my nervous system knows that routine inside and out, and all the stresses can happen during the day and dealing with all different problems and helping people with their health and all that. But when it's time to go to bed, my body just shuts off the nervous system, right? We do all sorts of different things like the 3-2-1 sleep formula. But then on the weekends, that's when the excitement's there. From Friday night to Sunday night, it's my daughter's time, my wife's time, when we hang out as a family, do all sorts of fun things, see family, friends. Yeah, maybe the different thing would be like, it's actually a fairly boring routine, but I love it.
Well, it's working for you.
Yeah. And hopefully you're having some crazy fun on the weekends, whatever that means to you.
Yeah, exactly. Not too crazy, but crazy. Yeah, it's fun.
So we want to encourage our audience to go back and listen to your 2 previous episodes to hear about your background and all of the underlying principles to your work, because there is so much we want to cover today. And it's been 3 years since our last conversation. And so I think that the best way to start today is for you to share how all symptoms trace back to underlying imbalance in the body. and how uncovering your personal root cause can eliminate chronic illness for so many people. We're really intentional about the oils we cook with, and that's why we love Zero Acre. Most seed oils are highly refined and unstable when heated, which can create inflammation in the body. Zero Acre is different. It's made from fermented sugarcane, has a clean, neutral taste, and is incredibly stable for high heat cooking. We use it in everything from sauteing veggies to roasting and even baking. No weird aftertaste, no smoke, and it feels good knowing it supports metabolic and overall health. If you want to upgrade your kitchen staples, head to zeroacre.com and use the code LIVINGWELL for 15% off your first order.
Yeah, so, it's funny. The word personomics, people think like, oh, this is a new system you created. It's actually a system I've been talking about since 2017. And the rain barrel effect basically came out that year, right? But I didn't feel that I was ready to start teaching this system, or I didn't feel the world was ready. If you think about it, like Instagram really only started to take off in 2016, 2017. It's kind of crazy because we always like fast forward to the future. But the world changed really. Facebook, no doubt about it, changed the world, right? But it was Instagram with this just like massive, like just scrolling through your feed. So just you're able to reach so many people, which is great. It has a lot of downsides, but possible upsides. So what the rain barrel effect did was essentially say, this is the formula. And the formula is something that I learned overseas during my internships. So although I studied, again, like I love my education, all of those things, for everybody, you learn by doing and you learn by working with people. And so there's two ways to get well, right? We only are sick. We're only imbalanced. We're only overweight or underweight, whatever it might be, because we have deficiencies or we have toxicities. So we have too little of something, and we'll talk about that with your labs, or we have too much of something, and those are your toxicities, right? And so here's the thing though. I realized that, sure, a lot of people have deficiencies, call it like vitamin B12 or CoQ10 or, amino acids, vitamin D, magnesium. Those are very popular things now. But if you add those to the body, you don't necessarily get well. You'll feel a little bit better, feel a little bit more energy. It is always the toxicities that are the brake on getting well. That's what I realized through studying in India and in China and in Europe. Like I realized that the way to heal is through a subtractive methodology. So yes, replace your deficiencies so your body has the strength to be able to heal. But a subtractive way of healing is ultimately what people are overlooking. So that's empty in the rain barrel. So, and it really comes from a lot of the stealth pathogens, which obviously the both of you know, but it's like there's mold, there's Lyme, there's Epstein-Barr virus, there's CMV, there's autoimmune issues, there's gut issues, and we can get as deep as you want. But until you fix those, you'll never heal. So I was sick for 10 years because I was always doing the additive. I'm like, oh, I need more B12. Oh, what's the new? Oh, I heard about alpha lipoic acid. That's going to help my blood sugar. So I added that in. So I was taking like 30 to 50 different things. And you know what? I felt a little bit better, but not well. I didn't heal because I still had the H. pylori, the candida overgrowth, the high histamines, the leaky gut, the SIBO. Until I fixed that, there was no way I was ever going to heal.
That's such an important message for our listeners because I get people coming to me all the time, just what supplements should I take? What supplements should I take? I have this, I have that. And it's all, they hear about all these supplements from their friends and their neighbors and their parents or whoever, and they just want to jump on the supplement bandwagon. And I think it's just a really important message that we need to subtract the toxicities. I love how you said that.
Yeah. And that's the hard work often. Harder than just taking a pill, a supplement, or getting your 10,000 steps in. And those are easier for people. And this is hard. Like what you did to heal yourself is hard. And it definitely requires a mindset and lifestyle changes in order to make these things happen, which is not easy in today's world.
Yeah. And that's why you do have to have a big why, right? Like you have to have a real reason why. And then you kind of want to create your own boring system. So maybe coming back to the beginning is like, you have to make it just part of your lifestyle and automatic. One thing we teach in IHP Mastery, which I think you've taken before, is like you habit stack. So what are you already doing right now that you can add this onto that wouldn't require a lot of extra effort? So it's like, oh, you're watching YouTube videos like later in the day. All right, like hop on an exercise bike and just put your iPad there or your phone. Like that's what I do. I don't actually allow myself to do these things during the day, but during my workout time, I love it. Like I'm working out, I'm exercising, but I'm also watching just silly things on YouTube and just enjoying myself because you're still supposed to enjoy your life, right? And so if you can stack those things together, it's just going to become easier. So it's like, oh, I forget to take my supplements. All right, well, like just put them next to your coffee maker or put them next to like whatever you're doing, pre-bag them, pre-do whatever you need just so they're there. Oh, you're 10,000 steps, you're not able to get that in. Okay, well, how could you? Like, so I have a busy life just like anybody else. So now when I go for my walk in the morning, I do a walk and talk. And so I'm talking with one of my teammates. I have open office hours for 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. And they know that they can book a basically 20-minute call, and we just chat. And I'm walking at the same time. I could be at my desk, but I'm walking. And so, you can do things like that to get more done, not always overwhelming yourself, but it is a way to make these things a little bit more palatable and easier to do.
Yes. And maybe that's a good segue actually into just talking about Personomics. What makes this book different from the Rain Barrel Effect? And I know you have another book actually on, I think it's like workouts or men's workout, I want to say. So what inspired you to write this and write it now? And just, comparing the Rain Barrel Effect, which by the way, Marnie and I use that concept all the time. I think with almost every single client I've ever had, we talk about the Rain Barrel Effect because it's such a good analogy. And maybe you can even just give a little taste of that as leading into Personomics.
Yeah. So the Rain Barrel Effect really applies to everything in life. I was actually talking about it with my daughters last night at the dinner table. They're 11 and 13 now. And so we have a little bit more sometimes adult conversations. And they were talking about something that happened in the world. And I said, well, it's difficult because you need to put yourself in that person's position. How do you know that before that act happened, they didn't have this, and this happen to them? And so when they were approached in this particular way, they flew off the handle in an inappropriate way. But what you didn't see were all the things happening before that. Now, does it excuse behavior? No. But sometimes we have to have a little bit of grace and gentleness around why someone's acting in a particular way, right? It's very important. So that's the overfilling of the rain barrel. So with health, if you think about my health, why did I get so sick at 17 years old with the Addison's disease, the autoimmune issues, the POTS, the type 2 diabetes, all these issues? Well, it didn't happen overnight. I was a sick kid, basically growing up. I had a little bit of asthma, I had allergies, but I was also drinking Kool-Aid as juice in the morning. Not that anybody should be drinking juice first thing in the morning. I was eating Fruity Pebbles. I was eating Lucky Charms, all my favorite cereals. Grew up in the 80s. I didn't know that those things were wrong, right? But then as a teenager, I had acne. Of course, look at all the foods I was eating, right? And so, and probably didn't have I should have washed, right? But face powder, all sorts of different things, right? So what was I put on? Antibiotics. Well, I'd been taking antibiotics my whole childhood. And so now from 14 years old to 17 years old, I had taken amoxicillin twice a day. So over 3,000 capsules of amoxicillin in my lifetime. And then I had massive gut permeability, right? And so then I got extremely sick because my immune system just could no longer handle it. And so that was the rain barrel filling up. Poor food choices, stressed. I was going into my senior year of college. I was applying to schools. I was the oldest born. I was working a job at the same time, doing 3 sports. And that was too much. My rain barrel, it was giving symptoms. I should have seen it coming, but then it overflowed. And so that's what I want people to know about the rain barrel. But the thing is this, you can always empty that rain barrel. And when you empty the rain barrel, you go back to being at a place of balance. And remember, the body can always heal itself. There's nothing that we can't heal from as long as we find out what are our deficiencies and what are our toxicities. I had to find out those toxicities. Remember, I was trying to heal in the 90s, in early 2000s. This is before the widespread of information. So it just took forever. I read thousands of books, but met some great people, helped me out a little bit. And then I met my mentor, Dr. Pete. And Dr. Pete was the one who just put it all together. Ayurveda, genetics, functional medicine lab testing. And I was like, oh, okay, there's a system to this. I got it. I'm not just taking the latest and greatest supplement. And so that was very helpful. So I don't know if that answered your question, but I'm happy to talk about, how Personomics is different than the rain barrel effect, because the rain barrel effect is how you get sick. And then it's literally the de-stress protocol of how to get well. Diet, exercise, stress reduction, toxin removal, rest, emotional-based balance, scientifically backed supplements, and a success mindset. And they're all important. So supplements is one of those, very important. I would not have gotten well without supplements. I don't know how you remove candida and bacterial overgrowth from your gut through diet alone. You can only shrink it. You can't rebalance it without supplements. So supplements have their place, but again, it's one of the 8.
So then how does Personomics, how is Personomics different?
Yeah, so even when I was rating the rain barrel effect, I always knew there was one more book that I wanted to write. And that was the system then for healing. So the rain barrel teaches you how to use elimination diets, functional medicine, detoxes, before intermittent fasting was a thing. We were talking about it in the rain barrel effect, right? It's because I didn't make it up. We've been using this from the traditional naturopaths, or, go back to the Bible if you want. They were using fasting, right? So it's we didn't make this up, but we put it into a specific system. And that was enough for people, I believe, at that time, and still is. That's probably the first book you should start with. But then Personomics is the system then for healing. And there's basically 5 parts to that system as to how anyone can heal. That's what I call the end of all disease, because every disease has an underlying root cause. In the book, I talk about 5 different people with low thyroid, all with 5 different underlying root causes, but they're all put on the same medication, right? They all take the same medication, but they have different underlying root causes, and that medication is not helping any of the underlying root causes. So my goal was get people started and really show them that healing can take place. This is how you get sick. And then when you're ready to take it to that next level, because people don't usually dive in right away to the highest level. Okay, yeah, this works. Get it. I'm starting to get results. And then they go through the system. And that's the system is what the both of you use in your practice as well. I just really wanted to put it on paper to anybody can follow.
Well, it's so helpful for someone to see, and even before they decide they want to work with an IHP or yourself, to understand what the process will look like for them. And why is this personalization link, which is really what the book is about, and that's what we're all doing. Maybe even talk about why is that missing in modern medicine, and the issue with having these like generalization, this general approach to healing, giving everyone with a thyroid condition the same medicine, like you said, and just honestly, these averages that we have in our healthcare system, which I know are different. The averages that most of us see on a lab are different from what you teach us through more of a functional and integrative approach.
Yeah, that's 100% correct. And so appreciate you bringing that up, because when you write the book and you're like so in it, you kind of forget about like the main things. Like, yes, personomics is literally, it's the study of you as you. And I truly believe we all need to understand what works for us. So there's a foundation of health that we all need to do these things. It's like 7,500 to 10,000 steps a day. And if you can't walk, totally get it. But on a bike for about a certain amount of time per day, right? You're doing something to move your body. Okay, anti-inflammatory nutrition plan. Some people need a little bit more carbs. Some people need a little bit less, like of starches, right? But there's a foundation. But then it's understanding what works for you. We were having a nice little discussion before we even got on to recording today. It's like, this is what I know that my body needs now in my later 40s to be able to be at my best. And that's what works for me. May not work for somebody else, but that's okay. So that's why we do what we do. And that truly is the case of personomics. And so in the book, just real quick, okay, someone goes to their doctor and their TSH is now a 5.5. Okay, they might have been for years a 2.6, then a 3.2, the next year a 4.1, then a 4.8. Doctor did nothing. Oh, now you're out of range. Okay. Well, we know as integrative health practitioners, we would have been helping them at 2.5 because we want them between 0.5 and 2.5 maximum, right? We already know the thyroid's starting to become dysfunctional. Okay. So we would look for the underlying root cause. But no matter what, once they became dysfunctional, they got levothyroxine. They got some type of medication for their thyroid. 1 out of 5 women are put on this medication, 1 out of 8 to 10 men. So it's a great topic to talk about. Now, what was the real reason why this person's thyroid was dysfunctional? They may not have enough iodine, right? You can't make thyroid molecule without iodine. Did their PCP or doctor ever talk to them about their iodine intake? No. So if you're not eating like seaweed or, iodized whatever, like you're probably not getting enough iodine. Okay. The next one could be, do they have elevated levels of cortisol? Because we know when the body produces more cortisol, it starts to blunt the conversion of T4 to T3. Same if you have too little selenium, right? Not getting enough selenium, what happens? Can't convert into activated thyroid hormone, T3, right? So we test TSH, T4, and T3 to see if they're getting enough of that. Another reason could be intestinal permeability, gut-based issues, food sensitivities. Why? All of those things could be triggering an autoimmune response and causing something like Hashimoto's. So I could go on and on. There's about 10 to 12 real reasons why someone has low thyroid. The nice thing is, as integrative health practitioners, you can pinpoint what the 1, 2, or maybe 3 reasons are, because it's usually not just one. That would be too easy, right? And so then we find out what those are. We remove the break, the toxicity that might be there, replace those deficiencies. Maybe it's even iron. That's a big reason why a lot of women have lower thyroid and they don't even know it, is they're anemic from iron. And so we replace that through food and or nutritional supplement. And then all of a sudden, we retest them again in about 8 to 12 weeks. Thyroid's normalizing, of course, right? They were missing something. Their body knows how to work. They just needed the raw material. So Personomics shares with you how to find your unique needs, and then, of course, how to implement those protocols.
Well, and we talked about something before we started recording. We mentioned genetics, right? And in this very personalized approach, I'm assuming that the genetic piece is a component to it, right? Because we all have our genetic code, and certain things we're more predisposed to, whether or not those genes are getting turned on or off based on your lifestyle, if I'm saying this correctly. And so I like the idea of this very personalized medicine where we can look at the whole picture, the entire body, and really pinpoint, what works for Stephanie or what works for Dr. Cabral is going to be very different for what works for me. So This is an amazing blueprint. Stephanie and I both read the book, and it's like I don't want to say it's like a textbook, but I was kind of taking it like a textbook and underlining things. And, we learned a lot of this already, but I loved the way you laid it out, and it was a lot of great reminders, honestly.
A lot of great reminders. And I don't want people to think that it's a textbook, like it's going to be dry, because I actually think it's very easy to read. Now, we have a lot of the knowledge, but the stories that you give and the examples, I just think that makes it very manageable for someone and relatable. And it's funny, there were a couple things in there that like we know, right? But I was like, I have to test my omegas. I haven't done that in a while. And last time I did it, I was low and I've been diligent. So yesterday I did the test, pricked the finger. And there was something else that was kind of silly. It was just like, oh, do legs up the wall at night. And I'm like, yeah, I say I should do that. And I don't. And last night I did the legs up the wall. So I always think regardless of where you are in your health journey and how many books you've read on these topics or not, maybe you're just starting out, there's lots of good reminders. And
I appreciate you saying that because I try. So I write all of my books as if they are a conversation with a new wellness client. So the Rain Barrel Effect was written that way. Personomics is written that way. And because my goal is ultimately to spread what we do to as many people as possible, to just share with them that you should have hope, that everyone can heal, and that there's a system to this, that it's not just like, oh, let's just, try this next thing, try this next diet. Okay, whatever's popular. It's like, no, you need the plan that works for you ultimately. And in this system, you're either using the self-assessments in the book. So it literally takes you through like, oh, yeah, you might not have gut issues because you don't have any of these symptoms. Oh, it might be hormonal instead. And so there's self-assessments on that. And then if you don't want to do the self-assessments, or even if you do, you can say, okay, these are the labs that I'm going to run, and has corresponding labs. And now let's say, okay, you can't run the at-home lab test. Then there's the corresponding protocol. So I really wanted to like phase it out. So no matter who you are, no matter what you can make for an investment in your own health, there's something for everyone. And it reads kind of like you said, like it's not a textbook, but it's a guide, it's an action plan as to then what to do next. Okay, you ran the labs. Now, while you're waiting for your personalized plan, do an elimination diet or do a functional medicine detox, like clean the slate, reduce the inflammatory based triggers so that when you get your plan, then you won't have the Herxheimer based reactions. Okay, then implement your plan. One of the ways that people go wrong is they think that there's like a plan and then that's it. And we know as integrative health practitioners, there's a phase 1, then there's a phase 2, then there's a phase 3, and your body's getting healthier the whole time, and it's actually getting more metabolically flexible. Mm-hmm. So you can actually add in more flex meals or a lack of sleep, or you miss a week of workouts and you don't just gain back 5 pounds, right? It's like, no, your body's getting stronger. And so if we think about it, let's just say someone's 45 years old. Well, you might have had dysfunction for 20 years, 25 years. It's like, yeah, an 8-week protocol is probably not going to be enough. Like you're going to feel tremendously better, and you actually think you are better because you empty the rain barrel. But no, your body needs a little bit of time to really get back to that metabolic strength, which is ultimately kind of what we're all after, so that you wake up with energy, fall asleep, have a great night's sleep. And that's, that's what we want, because then we can tackle the day.
And then once you've reached that point, then you want to start focusing on your longevity, right? And that's your high performance health.
That's the 5th step. Exactly. So basically it's assessments or labs, elimination diet or detox protocol, your phase 1, and then don't forget how to ease back into whatever you'd like in lifestyle, the foods, the whatever. And then stage 5 is your body's balanced. Now, nobody's perfect. I just want to state that ahead of time. There's never a state of perfection, but you've really rebalanced the major things. And now you say, okay, let's focus on anti-aging. And you really should be focusing on anti-aging and health by the time you get to your 40s. And the reason is that the Alzheimer's, the heart disease, the metabolic syndrome, all of that's really, it's been happening for a decade, but now it starts to accelerate once we get into our later 40s and 50s. So we need to focus on it. And now is the time. But it's also in that order. So if you're taking, like, people are taking NAD drips and they're doing all sorts of different things. I'm not saying that that's bad. What I'm saying is, like, you're putting the cart before the horse. So what we need to do is you need to balance whatever the issues are that's causing the inflammation in your body, that's leading to the dis-ease or imbalances you feel. And then it's like a reward. Then you get to work on all the red light and all of the extra things that you're doing that might take time, because don't take time away from what you need in order to balance and create the foundation. Then you get to do the things like the ubiquinol and the advanced cell force and the, like, whatever it is that you need to power up your mitochondria. But that's high performance health and anti-aging. So earn that and then enjoy it. So one thing I always tell people is, like, you always need a next thing, because if not, you get bored and you just kind of let it all go. And so even for myself, I'm like, okay, what's my January plan? It's like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I wrote out my new workouts. I'm like doing all these different things, because even after, how long has it been? Like 30 years of me going to the gym and exercise and all that, I need to keep my mind in it, right? I need to keep still doing it, because it's not like I'm going to set world records and, whatever it is. So it's like, okay, well, what are you going to do? So it's really having that growth mindset in your own health that everybody needs to get excited about. And I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I do think there's just a lot of people walking around with symptoms, and they're trying to figure it out or not. But I think one thing I'd like to ask about is, in the book, you have a couple, and the woman came to you for very specific health reasons. And then the husband was like, oh, I'll add on a couple tests just to do it for myself. I'm fine. I don't have any symptoms. And then lo and behold, you uncovered a whole host of things that were going on for him think a lot of them maybe were stress related. So what about the people out there that are like, oh, I'm fine. I mean, I could use a little more sleep. I maybe could lose a few pounds, but overall, I'm doing okay. Or they think they're doing okay because they've just normalized the symptoms that they've been experiencing for years. So what do you say to that person?
Well, so that's why in the book, we talk about the 5 signs that your body is giving you that we need to be aware of. We can't yet stop the aging process, but we can absolutely slow it down and even reverse it in many cases, meaning cardiovascularly, skin age, biological age, et cetera, right? So we have our chronological age, that's how many years we've been alive. And then we have our biological age, which is essentially how fast we're aging. And so the goal is to get everybody in. That's right, to do the work, foundational work first, then the high performance health type work to then reduce that biological age. But your body's going to give you signs like, and I would just say to people like, how's your energy? No caffeine during the day. Right. How will your energy be without caffeine? They're like, oh, yeah, I guess I wake up, a little groggy with a little bit of brain fog. That's a sign that you're not balanced. There is something off right there. You're not producing enough cortisol most likely in the morning, or something's going on, right? Not enough dopamine production. Okay. And then we start to look at digestion. Do you get bloated after eating most meals, or do you get bloated, at least a few times a week? And so like that's a sign. Or do you have any constipation or loose stool? And so people can answer that. And I kind of go through all of this in the book. And so I go through sleep, like how many times a night do you wake up? Do you fall asleep without 10 minutes, within 20 minutes total for like latency? Are you getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep? And then we even talk about things like skin. So again, we're all getting older and we're all, no matter what, like you're going to get some wrinkles, you're going to get things like that. But are you starting to look like you're aging faster? It's only about you. Remember, you don't want to compare yourself to anybody else because we have different genetics, right? It's like, you're going to look like you because it's your genetics, right? But how quickly, if you see yourself really aging over the last 12 months, something changed. What changed for this to happen, not gradually, but at an accelerated rate? So that's what I would say to people. And the truth is, like, you never know. You're always guessing until you test. So if you can run the big 5 lab tests, and I know we're going to go over one of the gut tests today, you really are guessing. And that's why I run mine twice a year. Most people will just run it once a year, and then they'll run a follow-up maybe 12 to 16 weeks after doing a protocol to make sure that it's balanced.
Well, that's a great segue, I think, into our lab tests if we want to start talking about what you found on our labs.
Yeah, I'll do a little screen share for those people watching on video. It's kind of fun to see what the both of you do in your practice as well, and myself included. So we'll go over those. I have, do you want to go over, Stephanie, yours first?
Sure.
All right. Yours is the first one up, so we might as well take a look at it.
Okay.
All right, so this is called the Candida Metabolic and Vitamins Test. And it's a simple urine test, right? This is a test that any child can run, 3 years old and up, and of course, any adult as well. Just a small morning collection done right at home and then shipped to the lab. And so the first page, what it looks at is actually yeast overgrowth or bacterial overgrowth or potentially mold-based markers. And then it looks at bacterial overgrowth in the body. And so, Stephanie, when we're looking at yours, just to kind of give a quick summary, the first 9 would be your yeast or fungal-based markers. And when we look at yours, all of them should be within kind of that gold orangey bar or lower. And we've got a little elevation on number 2. We've got an elevation on number 4. And we have an elevation on number 7. Number 7, though, keep in mind, again, you want to look at the ranges. It's not really out of range. It's at the high end, right? It's a 29. The range goes to 29. So we'll say that one, it's still, again, it's a high normal, but it's still a little out of range. Your other 2 markers, though, which is fascinating, is other markers that could potentially be mold-based. So whenever I see this in a lab test, I ask the client, do you have a lot of symptoms of bloating or gas or distension or slow digestion that this would look like, or could this be mold exposure?
So I'll make this quick because Marnie knows it's been a long journey. We've been on a mold identification remediation journey for probably 4 years. We've done ERMI tests. We had Brian Carr's team, who we met and interviewed after the first time we were at your conference, come out to our house, flew from out of town. We've done consultations with people locally, and we've had a variety of different answers. And I've ran the mycotoxin test on myself twice, and it's been a while. My husband, my daughter. So yes, we know we have mold. We don't get the same answer. And it's, as you know, tens and tens of thousands of dollars and time to remediate. And so when I see this, so it's been about a year, we get on a kick and we go all out, and I research and I try to find people and talk, and then we just get stuck because it is such a big project and you don't know what to do. There's no clear answer. You're not getting the same message from multiple experts. My daughter, I've been concerned about. So yes, so this is maybe now another catalyst because I haven't ran this and I don't remember seeing that high marker, the aspergillus markers, being as high the last time I ran it. And I have to pull it up. I didn't have a chance before we got on. So I do not have digestive issues. I do not have those issues that you mentioned which leads me to believe that this is the mold. And I will share one story, and I probably have shared this on the podcast. I always have a runny nose. Doesn't matter what I eat, if I'm doing the detox or eating dairy, like it ebbs and flows a little bit. But when I've been in Europe the last few summers and the like Mediterranean area, I'm fine. I literally go there and I don't need tissues when I go outside on a walk.
Can I ask you, where do you live in the U.S.?
In Minnesota, Minneapolis.
Okay.
And it's really cold here. So if you're going to tell me I have to move somewhere warm, I won't disagree.
Well, no, but it's not an area that would typically necessarily be associated with like year-round mold, mildew, dampness, etc. So that's why I ask. And I was actually going to ask you, because this would be my thing. Have you ever gone away on vacation or so to another area and those symptoms go away? And then, of course, if the answer is yes, and you go back to your house, there could be something in that home as well. One interesting thing would be in your local area or like surrounding state, if you went away for 3 days or so and your symptoms went away, then, it's kind of a little trial. Okay, there really might be something going on in your home.
I don't notice a significant change. Although, you know what? I was in Miami recently and I came back and I felt like my nose was running more. It's cold, but I'm going to be going to Florida actually again tomorrow. So I can do another test for a few days. So I don't know. But when I'm in Europe, it's very different in Europe, I notice. Quick break, because if you want real energy, better focus, and serious nutrition without caffeine, you need to hear this. We've been using Energy Bit spirulina tablets for several years, and they are a total game changer. They're tiny, easy to take, and made from 100% spirulina, one of the most nutrient-dense, antioxidant-rich, high-protein foods on the planet. Just a few tablets in the morning or when you're tired, and you get clean energy, fewer cravings, better focus, and yes, even hair growth. And for workouts, immunity, and recovery, we love Recovery Bits Chlorella, which helps detox, reduce inflammation, and improve sleep. I'm sleeping deeper and waking up feeling refreshed, and they're safe for the whole family, even pets. So head to energybits.com and use the code LIVING for 20% off your entire order.
The cold will make your nose run. So you just, for certain people, right?
Yeah.
So that's basically an eosinophilic reaction. So that could be totally different, but the eosinophils become elevated because of the environment and foods too. So it's important to dig deeper on this. Usually there was a previous roof leak or whatever it might be. But once you resolve it, you hope that you've resolved it. Our house that we moved into 3 years ago, we had to do massive mold remediation. But then that resolved it, which was really good.
Right.
So yeah, it's not necessarily an easy thing. What I would say is this is not a mold test. And so for people who want to run the mold test, it's called a mold mycotoxins test. That's a much better and deliberate test to look at those markers. So before making, massive changes or thoughts, because these numbers aren't very high, I just wanted you to know that they're elevated, but not massively elevated. We would still want to look at that specific test, right? And we'd have to look at then other reasons for the postnasal drip or runny nose, because anything that causes increased histamines would give you those symptoms.
Right.
All right. So further down on this test, we do see an elevation in two markers for hydroxyhippuric acid and then DHPPA. And again, you don't really need to know anybody what those mean, but it means it's beneficial bacteria. And so inside of your gut, your body has good bacteria and it has negative bacteria, right? And so in your gut, there's an overgrowth of good bacteria. We sometimes see this from people eating a lot of fermented-based veggies, which have trillions of probiotics. Sometimes it's from constipation. So the bacteria begins to build up over time. Sometimes from stress, we get our own buildup of bacteria as well there. So just wondering, again, all your negative bacteria, your Clostridium bacteria looked good. So just the beneficial was a little overgrown. Any ideas as to what that might be caused from?
I don't, I go in and out of having fermented food. Like sometimes I'll just have a couple things of kimchi because I know it's good, but I don't do it on a daily basis. And I definitely am not constipated. So I don't know.
And this might not be anything bad. I just like to let people know that.
Okay.
So this is an elevation in good bacteria, but it is fairly elevated. So we just like to look at that and just say, okay, if you are taking a probiotic right now, most people need one. You may not. And so that's the nice thing at looking at this is like your body, probably has enough healthy bacteria. And so you simply may not need to necessarily supplement with a daily probiotic support.
So I actually haven't been taking a probiotic for a few years because I started taking ion gut support. And I take that daily, which is supposed to help your body on its own, your gut produce the beneficial bacteria.
Okay. We may not need to use that.
Yeah.
So it's at least something to think about.
Okay.
Yeah, and look into. All right.
Thanks.
All right. So let's move to the next page. And so when we're looking at the next page, we're looking at overall oxalate production. Yours is excellent.
Okay. I am going to comment on that real quick because mine have historically been a couple times, and I've ran this for tests maybe 4 or 5 times, so high, like way, way, way outside of the range. And I was doing so much spinach and like power greens in my smoothies. I mean, 2-3 cups between that and salads every day. And the last time I ran this report, and I don't know if it was like a year and a half or so ago, it was also very high. So I'll scale back and I'll be like, I'm not going to do the spinach every day. And then it goes up. For people out there who spinach is a healthy food, right? And maybe you can even share a little bit about oxalates because they're in very healthy foods and a lot of foods that I like. And then over the summer, I was very diligent. I had someone else tell me I have high oxalates and I have cut back. And now I do riced cauliflower in my smoothies instead. And I stopped drinking so much black tea, a couple other foods. And so I'm really happy that the work I did because I've really very consciously had to change my diet and my routine because I always do greens in my smoothies and that it's lower. So I'm happy about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, these are great levels, and oxalates can, in some people, not everyone, begin to build up and actually cause potentially kidney issues, et cetera. So we don't like to see them, super elevated, not above a 150. We usually then start to look at, okay, are you consuming a lot of beets? Are you consuming a lot of spinach? We kind of go down the line. But remember, like I did a podcast on this where there's 3 tiers. There's high oxalates, moderate oxalates, and low oxalates. You don't need to worry about the low oxalate foods. I mean, you're just eliminating too much healthy foods from your diet because a lot of these can be very healthy. But absolutely, if you have high oxalates, all right, look at the high oxalate foods. Remove those first. And then there's always great substitutes. So like you said, spinach can be a great food. Okay, maybe not for you right now, but with your oxalate levels, you could certainly add spinach then back in twice a week. And I don't think you'd have an issue, right? And so you just wouldn't add it back in 2 to 3 cups every day because it'll just come right back. So, and then also keep in mind that if your magnesium stores are low or your vitamin B6 and other factors are low, it won't allow you to remove those oxalates as easily from your body.
That's good to know.
So, yeah. And then your mitochondria are like everything looks good. They're all in range and you actually want them towards the middle to lower. So all of these really do, like all the mitochondria look excellent, but I always ask, like, how is your overall energy? And does the lab feel like it kind of matches where you're at right now?
Yes. I feel like I have good energy.
And so your neurotransmitters, we want to talk about a bit. So even though your serotonin's pretty good, not bad at all, your dopamine's a little elevated and your norepinephrine is a little low. We see this all the time, as in 8 out of 10 cases with high performers and high achievers. So you're motivated, you're ambitious, you're driven, and you've been that way your whole life.
Yeah.
Well, now, after X number of years, the dopamine's still going, but the get up and go, the epinephrine is not always where it once was. So that's what this lab test looks like. I don't know if that's what it feels like to you, but that's what it shows. So basically, norepinephrine is the adrenal medulla's excitatory neurotransmitter, call it hormone if you want, and that's what gets us into like the fight or flight. But dopamine is the ambition reward neurotransmitter for growth in our life.
Yes, and this has been high, that ratio, every time I've run this report. I need to pull up and see if the ratio has improved, even though it's still high. I don't know. I have to pull that up. So what do you suggest? It's given that you see this so often for people. What do you suggest to balance this ratio?
Yeah, so this is not a food-based issue unless you're too low in carbohydrates. So the only thing that cuts cortisol and stress or carbohydrates, not protein or fat. Again, I'm not saying that protein and fat are foods that you shouldn't eat. Of course you should. But it is good to have some carbohydrates at dinner, which then starts to lower cortisol and allow you to sleep better at night. Yeah. Some people don't do carbs at dinner because they think, well, I'm not going to expend any energy after dinner. I totally get it, but we're looking to be at like a net 0-0 in terms of like maintaining weight for total calories for the day. So you can kind of like spread out your carbohydrates if you want during the day. It's up to the individual. I totally get it. Different plans for different people with different goals. But for overall longevity, we want a little bit of carbs at night to calm the cortisol, right?
Okay, that's good to know because I don't probably eat as many carbs at night. I mean, in fruits and vegetables, yes, but I hadn't thought about that from like a calming your nervous system standpoint.
Yeah, so in Ayurveda, the Vata pacifying foods are essentially the root vegetable starches. It could be cooked carrots, could be sweet potato, yeah, all those things that are just a little bit more starchy. The body's like, oh, we have energy coming in, we can relax. And like, because it's always those carbs that relax the nervous system. It's the only thing that relaxes the nervous system for food. Then of course, Adrenal Soothe has your ashwagandha, your phospholyserine, and it has your L-theanine, right? So for you, 2 of those at dinner, and then like 2 full spectrum magnesium, most likely would be where I would go with that to help calm the nervous system. I'm just a little concerned about giving you like a chamomile tea or valerian with the histamine issues, because those are higher in histamine. Any dried tea or so will get your histamine levels fired up. So
I drink a lot of tea, herbal tea, and at night too. Like I have a bedtime tea.
And if it's not causing the postnasal drip, especially when you sleep, probably no big deal. But just keep in mind that those things are higher histamine based. Anything dry aged, spiced, or that. So it's something to think about right there. And so it's more lifestyle. It's calming the nervous system. It's never changing who you are. But it's like I said, I created my boring life Monday through Friday to save me from me, because I have a tendency to go way overboard and push way too hard and just burn myself out. So did I have to learn that lesson like 15 times? Yes. But now I'm at a place like, you're starting to get a little overboard, like stick to your plan. And so anyway, I think we all need that. And we kind of, in personomics, we find out what works for us over time, never one day. All right. So the rest of this lab is really looking good, but I want to get to the vitamins. So your uracil number is just starting to move a little out of zone. That's more of a methylation and B9, methylfolate-based number. So we might look at a little bit more B vitamins, especially with elevated dopamine and stress. All of your ketone and fatty acid numbers look great. So we like to see that. It doesn't look like you're over fasting or over stressing the body from lower blood sugar or even gut overgrowth. And then your B12 looks good. B6 is low, higher need for B5, higher need for B2, lower on the vitamin C, CoQ10, NAC, and biotin all look good. So for you, it looks like maybe a little bit more B vitamins, which kind of makes sense, like right as a high achiever and a go person. Again, I don't know if you're a go, but I'm assuming assuming that that's the case. The B vitamins are called literally the anti-stress vitamin for a reason. Your body's going to get depleted of your B vitamins, vitamin C, glutamine, and zinc when you over-exercise or over-push yourself in life, both mentally and physically.
And I kind of taken Marnie's approach where I'll take them consistently and then I stop. And then I've been recently taking them more. And I know I've done genetic testing. And so I need to plan to take one forever.
Yeah.
So
usually what we do is we do the daily activated multi or daily nutritional support at breakfast, right, and then one activated B complex at lunch, and then one at dinner, because the full serving is 2. So then you're getting 2 full servings of your B complex a day. That's going to be all almost everybody needs for homocysteine issues, MTHFR issues, et cetera. So it's giving you all of your B vitamins, because you don't need just B9 and B12 for MTHFR. You need B2 and you need B6 to be able to get those methyl donors to where they need to be. And so I always say to people, you can use your B complex only in times of stress. But if life is always a little bit stressful, then you use that as a support, right? That's what supplements do. They support a healthy lifestyle. And so that's what I do every day. Again, maybe my life will become very relaxed and I'll sit on a beach one day and I'll just be sipping non-alcoholic pina coladas, and then I won't need all my B complex. But until that day, I use my Bs to keep me balanced.
I have one question about that. Looking at her test, and I know mine is similar, she's high in B5 and B2. So if she's taking the B complex, is that going to give her too much of B5 and B2? Is that a concern at all?
No, it's a great question. So we see B5 elevated usually when there's a higher need for it. So okay. B5 is your precursor to acetyl coenzyme A, which is the precursor to cholesterol, which is the precursor to all your sex hormones and cortisol. So if there are higher levels of stress, Stephanie, I'm not a betting man, but I'm guaranteeing you if we ran the stress mood metabolism test, we would see elevated levels of cortisol at least the second half of the day.
I ran that one a few times too. Yes.
Yeah. So like I said, that's what I would do, is use those B complex just to, again, balance, give the body the body has to have these things in order for it to function properly. So all we're doing is we're eating a healthy diet and we're giving you a little bit of the nutritional supplements you need for a lifestyle in 2026 that is go. Like that's how we live. There isn't as much downtime maybe as there was 100 years ago, 150 years ago. And so we're just trying to keep up with modern life.
Yes, absolutely. And I think a lot of listeners and a lot of our middle-aged women could relate if they were to run this report. I think, like you said, these are common. Some of the labs that you're showing of mine are common with a lot of your clients. So
absolutely. Yeah. And so if we're looking now on the last page, your detoxification looks really good. And so we'd like to see that. Glutathione levels look good. Methylation toxic exposure looks good. So happy to see that. All of your amino acid metabolites look good. The only one that's a little low is your phosphoric acid. And so usually this is when you're not getting enough calcium, magnesium, vitamin D3. And so I don't know your levels. Again, the minerals and metals test, we kind of look at your magnesium and calcium, and your stress mood metabolism would look at your vitamin D3. But are you taking 5,000 IUs of vitamin D3 a day?
Yeah, at least. And I got tested fairly recently with labs and they were good. What I've noticed actually with vitamin D for me is that I have to take it all summer long, even with sun exposure, because in the summer I tend to be lax. And then when I tested it in September, it was low. And then I had it tested just a couple months ago for labs, and then it was back up again.
Yeah, I do the same. I take vitamin D3 all summer long. And the reason is that on the weekend, I get sun and a little bit when I go for my walk, but I'm not out at the beach Monday through Friday, right? And so unless you are, you're not getting as much sun, you're not getting a tan, you're not getting your vitamin D3 just because it is summer. One other reason is if you're not getting enough protein in your diet, phosphoric acid could be low.
I'm definitely getting it. I'm very protein focused all around plant and animal products, but
well, if you're doing the right things, again, this is why we don't just use the lab data. We also use the person's story, and we just make sure that if you're covering the right bases, then good. We'll look at this on a subsequent test if we need to to act further on it. So any other questions before we go over on Mars?
No, that was super helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, this is great. Really great. And so there's, again, not a whole lot to look at. We're going to maybe run the mold mycotoxins next to see if there's additional there. And then what we're going to do is fill in the gaps for your B complex and probably do a little bit of a nighttime routine to calm those cortisol levels and maybe use the nutritional supplements that we talked about as well. All right, so let's go over Marnie's here. So when we look at the first page of the Candida Metabolic and Vitamins test, we see a little elevation in arabinose. Keep in mind that we're usually not worried if it's just arabinose that's elevated. And the reason is that it could be elevated from increased vitamin C intake. It could be from other metabolites in the body. So I always teach that in IHP and taught that from the very beginning. If arabinose is the only one elevated and a person doesn't have bloating or gas or distension or constipation or loose stool, we keep it as is and we don't over treat essentially based on a lab, right? All of your bacterial markers look good. So I'm assuming that you don't have a lot of bloating or distension because this is a really great first page.
No, I don't.
Good. Very good. So gut looks healthy there. We like to see that. Next up, when we're looking at oxalates, it's starting to get up higher, right? It's right at the top edge of that. I usually don't do much, honestly, except start to let people know we're kind of moving that direction. Don't add extra spinach or almonds or certain things to your diet that would increase oxalates. Make sure we're getting enough magnesium, B vitamins, etc. But I'm not going to have people radically change their lifestyle because we're not getting towards the top end of those oxalates.
I do eat tons of spinach. I don't know if that's an issue, but.
Well, so if someone's eating spinach every single day, then I'll actually say to them, better to have it then 4 times a week rather than 7. And the reason is it's not that spinach isn't great. It's just when you're eating spinach, you're not eating your others. And so like, it's nice to just vary that a little bit if you can. And so it could be, any of your other favorite greens, lettuces, etc. That's more how I would look at that. But I do like spinach, especially for women, for just a plant-based form of iron. Again, I'm not saying you can't get iron from meat and other things as well, but it is actually a very powerful, nutritious vegetable. And that's because it is a dark leafy green, and those are very great for your body. So I don't want to change it dramatically. It's working for you, but maybe 4 to 5 times a week maximum instead of 7.
Okay.
And that might only be what you have to do. Like that's it. Like that small change, not a major change. That's all we need to do. Lactic acid is a little higher than pyruvic acid. Again, I don't need to get wild here. All that means is the mitochondria is absolutely producing a good amount of energy inside of those mitochondria. And what happens is we need the lactic acid to recycle back into pyruvic acid or pyruvate and then continue on with the cycle. But again, no one marker makes the whole lab. So I look below at your mitochondria and I see everything looks excellent. Like almost everything is even in the orange bar, which is fantastic, except citric, which is a little elevated. But that's why we need to go back to the biochemistry, not get overly crazy here. But citric acid is called the citric acid cycle, the Krebs cycle, because citric acid starts the cycle. So if anything, we want a lot there because then there's enough raw material to flow through the entire mitochondrial adenosine triphosphate energy phase, right? So this actually looks really great to me. I have no issues with this at all. How's your energy?
I have really high energy.
Okay. I would assume to be that way. So that's a great thing. All right. So all your neurotransmitters, meaning like the metabolites of those, dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin look great. So I'm assuming, again, good energy, fairly good mood. Things look good. All right. Next up, now we start to get into, all right, so again, like, is Marnie exactly like Stephanie? No, a little bit different of needs. And so we see there seems to be this need for folate and methyl donors. We've got uracil elevated. All your ketone and fatty acids look good. You're doing a great job with, fasting appropriately for your body, exercise, all these things. And your B vitamins, they honestly don't look bad. Like I'm kind of taking a look here and even B6 is pretty good. But since I do see a need for B9, and you've, I think, said there might be a need on your genetics for a little bit more B vitamins, I would actually add that in. But for you, you might only add 1 for right now. So for 3 to 4 weeks, you do your daily nutritional support in the morning like you've been doing, and you add 1 at lunch, but you don't add 1 at dinner. And then you say, okay, how am I feeling? Oh, I actually feel a little bit more level mid-afternoon. Great. After 3 weeks, you might try 1 at dinner. And if you feel, oh no, actually I get more energy than I need and it's affecting my sleep, you remove the 1 at dinner and you just stick with the 1 at lunch. And so that's how we bio-individualize that a bit more because you might not need the 2 extra, you might only need 1.
Okay.
And if someone is doing a DNS shake in the afternoon, would then you only do 1 B vitamin?
Are they doing 2 DNS a day? Or
yeah, like I'm thinking of myself. I'm still doing this sort of extended detox. So if I'm doing 2 DNS shakes a day, then would you?
4 scoops? Meaning like 2 scoops is 1 serving? Okay. then that second DNS counts as another full B complex, 2 capsules.
Right.
So you don't need to do more Bs on top of that.
Okay.
No,
Okay, that's good to know because I'm still doing my extended also.
Yeah.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Well, keep in mind, it depends on how long you're doing it for, right? So like we're looking at a lab test that looks at the day before's results. So that's why we have to take this into context is like, this is a snapshot in time. We try to have people just live their normal life, but it depends when you ran this lab. Like if you were doing the 2 DNS a day and ran this lab, I'd be like, no, you weren't. Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't. This was in December and
Right.
So now you're already good, meaning like you're now already compensating for what we found in this lab. So keep doing the 2 DNS a day if you choose to. You don't need to do an extra activated B complex, and I don't recommend you do another one.
Okay.
Yeah, our activated B complex, the one by Equilife, is a strong full B complex. And so 2 servings of that a day, 1 DNS and 2 capsules is all that people need. If you really need more after that, then it's probably a specific nutrient that you're not converting as well. And we'll look at cofactors, and we might do just a little bit more of that one thing, such as like methylfolate if needed.
Okay.
All right. Your other markers are looking great. For both of you, I'd recommend a little bit more vitamin C. If you're not getting 1 to 2 grams per day, I do recommend that, especially as we're getting older. Why? It's a recycler of other antioxidants. It helps with detoxification. It helps with skin, hair, and nails. It's just making sure that you get enough. Doing 1 DNS shake, you're getting 400 milligrams. So if you're doing 2 a day, you're already getting 800 milligrams. So you don't need a whole lot more. Maybe like 1 or 2 full spectrum vitamin C and you're done. You got your needs met, right?
So I take 1 in the morning right now with my DNS.
That's fine. You can definitely do that. Yeah.
But I could use more, you're saying,
you could
based
use
on
more.
this.
This lab is definitely saying you could use more spread out during the day. Remember, vitamin C, these B vitamins, they last realistically 4 to 6 hours.
Right. So I should do it later in the day.
Yes. All right. And then the last page, we see a little drop in glutathione. We see methylation just pushing the top end. And we did see that need for methylfolate. Most likely, and again, I don't know your genetics, this is a methyl donor need. And so we need that B2, we need the B6, we need the B9, we need the B12. Most people go wrong where they're just doing the B9, right? The methylfolate. Okay, your body needs, methylfolate's great. I always relate it to like, that's the luggage or the cargo. Great, you put the cargo in the body. How do you get it to where it needs to go? That's the B2, B6. It moves then the cargo to where it needs to go, right? So that's how we use that. And then also, believe it or not, magnesium and zinc are very important for overall methylation process in the body. So, and so is copper, but you're getting those that's why I hate people that kind of cherry picking all the individual nutrients they need. If you're taking 2 DNS a day, we do this for so many clients. Why? You get all your zinc, all your B complex twice a day. You get all your copper. You don't need to do a whole lot more. You just add a little bit more vitamin C and a little bit more vitamin D and fish oil. For most people, that covers everything. Like if people look, that's why in Personomics, I made it even simpler. I'm like, literally, if you only take 3 supplements a day, daily nutritional support, daily omega-3, and vitamin D3. Like I tell my parents, I'm like, if you only remember to do 3 things a day, please just do those 3 things. It literally will add years to your life. So that's what we do. And then the last one that was interesting is your phosphoric acid. I almost never see this. That meaning like less than 1 out of 10. I see it elevated. And so I see this elevated with bone loss, muscle loss, weight loss. The second reason I see it is with people drinking like energy drinks or soft drinks or things like that with phosphoric acid. And the third reason I see it with high levels of vitamin D3 intake or high levels of calcium, et cetera, intake.
So I'm thinking I'm overdosing on vitamin D. I remember I was tested a number of years ago. My vitamin D levels were like crazy high. And so I cut back for a while.
Above an 80 or 90?
I don't remember what the number was.
Okay, but they were elevated.
But they were elevated too much. And I'm wondering if that's what it is again, because I am taking, are there some bodies that just like, I don't know if absorb is the right word, but convert the vitamin D like too efficiently, or is that a thing?
100%. So most of these things are converted in the liver, and some people are better converters than others. Some people actually need more vitamin D3, and yes, they're getting, again, when you take the DNS, I hate to be a broken record, but you're getting all the K2 you need. So you can take vitamin D3 with K2 if you want, but in a good, it doesn't just have to be Equilife. It could be a lot of great functional medicine companies, of course, that formulate. There's going to be vitamin K2 in there, not just K1. You have to put K1 in to make it a multivitamin, but K2 is what's going to help that vitamin D convert. But we actually want to talk about it in reverse. So when you're taking a lot of vitamin D3, it's actually potentially breaking down bone, pulling calcium and phosphorus into the bloodstream. So you can take an individual at-home vitamin D3 test, or as I said before, it's run on that stress movement metabolism test, which of course you know. So if you're taking more than 5,000 IUs a day, then it might be too much for your body. And even 5,000 IUs might be too much for your body. You might only need 1,000 or 2,000 because you do convert it really well.
So my next step, I think, would be to test my vitamin D again and see where it's at.
Yeah, again, like some people like change things and then they test. Don't do that. Keep everything at a baseline, then test. Like this is what I always do. And if it comes out above an 80, unless you're specifically trying to fight again, we do some cancer support. So if someone's fighting cancer, of course, we want that near 100. But if you're not, we like it between 50 and 70, maybe 80 at the most. So if you come out at a 93, oh yeah, you need to dial back your vitamin D3. That's most likely the cause of it. Too much of vitamin D3 is a good thing, right? Too much of a good thing is not a good thing, because there's always creates imbalances. It's all about balance in the body.
That's the only thing I can think of for this one.
It's probably it, honestly. Like it's probably it. You have fairer skin. Fairer skin individuals usually, not always, convert vitamin D3 better because they usually don't need as much sun. That's not, genetically they just simply don't need as much, and so you really may only need 2,000 IUs a day.
And I think I am taking about 5,000 a day, which is probably too much.
Yeah, but it's the most common dose, and most adults do need it. You again, bioindividuality. You just may not. Yeah.
Okay.
But overall, I mean, these are great labs. Stephanie's got a few things to work on, a few things to look at. Marnie's got a couple things to look at. But overall, remember, all these things are very fixable. But you don't know until you test. Even healthy people, you're both healthy. So now what do we do? Well, it's like we're always trying to get that next edge to optimize our overall energy and digestion and just our ability to handle life, right? To like be able to move through life with good energy and drive and mood. Mood's a big part of life.
Absolutely. This was so helpful and fun to just go over this test with you, because it's been a long time since I've done that. I'm curious what you think about the role of genetics when we're looking at these tests and talking about personomics, and if you're recommending to people that they get their genetics tested so they know what genes they have, and then they can kind of look at their genes and choose their protocols based on what their individual genetics say.
I'm glad you brought that up. So in personomics, I talk about the most important tests are the big 5 lab tests. So it looks at your inflammation levels with the omega-6 to omega-3. You look at your gut with the lab test you just ran, the Candida metabolic vitamins test. You look at the minerals and metals test for heavy metals and your mineral levels, right? And stress with the electrolytes. You look at your food sensitivity test from an IgG perspective. So foods that you ate 2 days ago that are reacting today from an IgG immunoglobulin perspective. And then we look at the stress, mood, and metabolism test, which is all your hormones, your cortisol, your thyroid, your vitamin D3, your blood sugar, all those great things. So those always come first. And here's why. Your genetics, you should run. The problem is you don't know that any of your genetics are manifesting at this moment in time without running the big 5 lab tests. Mm-hmm. So we're actually coming out with a genetics test, probably not for a few months after this airs, that does not recommend nutritional supplements based
Amazing.
on.
Yeah.
Yes. And because we just say, like, we're going to tell people you may need them. Like if you have the MTHFR gene mutation,
I do.
Heterozygous, that means 1 copy, or homozygous, which is 2 copies, might you need the B vitamins we just spoke about? Yes. But we don't know until we run that that Candida metabolic and vitamins test, right? We don't know. So why are we going to start to over supplement with a product that you may or may not need? And so like that's how we look at it. So everyone should know their genetics, but be careful supplementing based on your genetics alone. That's all I have to say, because you could cause more imbalances due to that. So for example, on your genetics, let's say you were a low converter or whatever of vitamin D3, you needed more of it. Mm-hmm. So Marnie's now taking 10,000 IUs a day because she read her genetics. Now her phosphorus levels are really high. She's pulling calcium into her bloodstream, which could be clogging up her arteries over a decade, right? So we don't want to base it just on our genetics, but our genetics allow us to have the awareness to know what to then look for on these integrative health tests. Does that make sense?
Yes. And I also think the genetics testing is helpful. It's a little bit of a motivator, and it will light a fire like, oh, I have these symptoms. I've done the testing. I just need to recognize that these are my genes. They don't have to be my destiny. And that's one thing I'd love for you to touch on is just kind of what's misunderstood about genetics, because I think people are very quick to say, oh, it's just my genes, so I'm just going to have to go on high cholesterol medicine. I mean, the number of people or clients that believe that your genetics is your destiny and that you should just take a pharmaceutical to deal with a certain ailment, because everyone in they've not even done genetic testing, but people in their family have had these chronic conditions. So I'd love for you to talk about that. But I just think that having both the data from the labs and your genes can be a great motivator for people to just accept and realize that you can change. Because I've done genetic testing and I don't have a lot of symptoms for some of the the dirty genes. And I think that's because of the lifestyle and the way I eat that is minimizing those symptoms that may be more prevalent in others with the same genetic code.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why, I mean, genetics are a real thing, right? They are your genetics. So like just an example that I think a lot of people can relate to. My parents they both got rheumatoid arthritis in their 40s. And all 4 of my grandparents had rheumatoid arthritis. So rheumatoid arthritis is in my genetics, right? I have type 2 diabetes in my genetics. I've got a lot of issues. I've got a lot of inflammation in my genetics, et cetera. Okay. So my parents got an autoimmune issue in their 40s. It's in my genes as well. I got mine at 17 years old. My rain barrel overflowed and I ended up with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. It's still rheumatoid arthritis. It's just I was under 18, so it's juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, right? Okay, I got type 2 diabetes as well when I was 17, 18 years old. All right, well, now I'm 47 years old. I got rid of my rheumatoid arthritis by the time I was 27, got rid of my type 2 diabetes by the time I was 27, got rid of all these, I had mastocytosis, I've got histamine issues, etc. All those things were gone. So I haven't had rheumatoid arthritis now for 20 years. Still in my genes, got it at 17, had it for almost a decade, then got rid of it. And I'm at an age now where my parents both had it.
Yeah.
So it's in my genes, but it has not expressed itself again. Now, let's say I go back to not sleeping, right? Because I was insomniac before, eating inflammatory foods, being highly stressed, et cetera, et cetera. You better believe I'll get rheumatoid arthritis again, right? So yes, genes are real, but they're not our destiny because we enable or stop the expression of those specific genes by our lifestyle, by the de-stress protocol.
And that's what's really powerful for people to understand.
We don't have to be a victim of our genetics. If we were, I mean, my genetics, I was joking around before the show. I would keep running my genetics hoping that they'll change, right? But they'll never change because my genetics are just like all these deletions and all these inflammatory markers. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, God had a lot of fun putting together my genome. So, it is what it is. And so it's okay. But I know what I need to do to stay balanced. And that's what I do. I get the right amount of sleep. I eat the foods that work for me. I take the supplements that work for me. I do the right amount of exercise. When I over-exercise, I get really inflamed. When I under-exercise, I lose muscle. I don't feel as well energy-wise. So I've got this routine that works for me. And so that's what Personomics is all about. It's like what Stephanie does isn't right for Marnie. What Marnie does isn't right for Stephanie. It might even be right for their sister or brother, right? You have to find out what works for you. It takes a little time, but it's absolutely worth it.
So just thinking about our listeners, as they're listening to this conversation, they may be new to the idea of Personomics. They may be well on their way on their health journey. What is an idea? What is something you want them to take away from this conversation? There's been so much value in it and something that's going to take them to the next step of their journey.
Well, if you think about it, everything in your life that you want to achieve is a blueprint or system. It's never been guesswork. So it's like, okay, if you want to achieve X, what do you need to do in order to achieve that? And when you do that, it demystifies it. So what I'm hoping to do is just say, this is the playbook, this is the blueprint, this is how you figure it out. And I can't tell you right now exactly what you need to do, and no one should, without you doing the self-assessments or labs. Then we'll move into the setting the stage, right? Drainage, detoxification with a functional medicine detox, et cetera. Then you'll get your personalized plan based on again, we just went over one lab of yours. Imagine if we had the big five. We would know all your deficiencies and all your toxicities. We'd have the perfect personalized plan, not for me, but for you, right? And then we would work the process. And that is how you heal. But that's the thing is that's the only way that you heal. There is no other way. You can go to different practitioners and they can have different ways of doing that, but it is always that way. And if you've never figured out what your deficiencies and toxicities are, everything is guesswork. Now, it might be educated guesswork, but it's still guesswork. And that's why working with an integrative health practitioner is the ultimate. It's an investment in your health to figure it out over the next 12 months so that you never have to then figure it out again. That's always been my goal. I took 6 months of complete dedication with Dr. Pete to doing whatever she said I needed to do. And it worked. I'm like, oh, this worked. Great. And so then it was my job to say, okay, let me see if I can build off of this. It was a different time, right? She handed the torch to me and I'm just going to do whatever I can to then hand the torch to all of our IHPs. And that's ultimately what it is. But there's always been a system and it's simply creating balance within the body. But you don't know what you need to create balance until you really look inside the body.
You make it sound so simple.
Well, it should be, right? Because it has to be simple in order to be able to replicate this.
Yeah.
Conventional medicine, it's simple, right? Run your blood labs. If nothing's out of range, there's nothing to do. You feel sick and you want answers. Okay. But when something's out of range, then they give you the exact pharmaceutical to match up to it. That's a simple system. Well, we need a simple system in natural health as well. Ours is more complicated because we look for the root cause. We understand there's multiple root causes. But if we're able to use these labs and we have the education like the both of you do, then you can ascertain what needs to be done. And then the wellness client just needs to follow the plan. Not as simple as taking a pill for every ill. There's the lifestyle, but if you do that, you actually get your health back. In conventional medicine, by taking a pill, you never get your health back. You just start to mask the symptoms and that inflammation is going to just find another avenue.
Absolutely. And that's why Marnie and I do love this work and everything we've learned from you to be able to help people. And I do think these labs are powerful. So for people out there, reach out to us and we can help you run those at-home functional medicine labs and then design a personal plan for you and one that works with your lifestyle. Because sometimes we can't take on everything. And like Dr. Cabral said, if these are the 3 supplements to take, if that's all you can handle right now, and we'll meet you where you're at on your health journey. But ultimately, we all just want people to be well and live well.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And pick up this book if you get a chance,
Yes.
if you can see it. Personomics, The End of All Disease by Dr. Cabral.
And we'll link all that up where you can buy it in the show notes.
And there is a special offer Dr. Cabral is offering, which is the Candida Metabolic and Vitamins Test, which we did today on air, and it's $150 off. And you can get that at stevencabral.com/livingwell for the special code, and that'll be in the show notes as well. And we just so appreciate having you on the show today and this conversation and your knowledge and your wisdom. I feel like I've learned more from you over the years than literally anyone, and I've taken so many courses. So appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. That means a lot.
And the fact that you're like one step ahead of where we need to be, kind of like how you said you were talking about fasting with the de-stress protocol in the rain barrel effect. And I feel like you're always on the cutting edge of what's to come, whether it's longevity or cancer prevention and treatment. And so I have no doubt that in another, year or 2 years, you'll be back on the show sharing everything else that you've been learning through your practice and working with your clients. So
hopefully sooner than that.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there is always so much. My big thing is I don't ever like to overreact to the new yet. Let's not experiment on our clients, which I know the both of you don't. Let's use the tried and true. And then, yes, of course, let's incorporate things when they're found to be safe. And then that's how we all grow. And that's how we move onto that last level, which is high performance health and anti-aging longevity, which is exciting. I mean, it really is. It's a great field. And yeah, hopefully we have another conversation soon, because in the next 3 to 5 years, things are going to start to get pretty wild with all the advancements in AI and robotics and nanotechnology. And so, yeah, it'll be exciting to talk about that.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Have a wonderful day.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Art of Living Well podcast. If today's episode inspired you, please subscribe, share, and leave us a review. It helps more people discover our show.
And if you're ready to take your health and happiness to the next level, we would love to support you. Whether it's through our transformative group programs, personalized coaching, or functional medicine lab testing, we help uncover the root causes of your health challenges and unlock your vitality.
Visit www.theartoflivingwell.us to learn more and book a free discovery call. Until next time, keep creating your art of living well.